All right, I'm back from my brief hiatus here where I did not have internet for 3 days and was unable to write any articles or film any videos. Probably the longest I've gone without doing that in a very long time. Now I'm back and it is storming and very dark here, but I kind of wanted to talk about something separate from this season specifically with Destiny and kind of a more general narrative I saw take shape over the weekend, kind of addressing the persistent Destiny is a dead game meme. There was news that the Destiny 2 Witch Queen pre-order was the highest selling thing on Steam after the announcement. And not only that, but Destiny 2 Legendary Edition itself was in the top 10 list also. This is significant because there are obviously a lot of really big high-profile games on Steam. And there were a couple maybe lower tier new releases, but we also are 6 months out from the debut of the Witch Queen, which is now coming out in late February, we learned. So that shows significant interest in the game, and we can also see that reflected in kind of the season launch numbers, which have rocketed up very high, really, really dramatically increasing the player count as we see at the beginning of most seasons, to be fair, and yet the numbers look very solid and they are sustaining in a good way. And then just by kind of an order of magnitude, like we talk about all these, potential Destiny killers and other games competing in this genre and stuff, but we have to keep in mind, like a game like, Outriders or games like Avengers, like these are games that have, anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 concurrent players at any given time on Steam, despite being a lot newer than Destiny. And Destiny's clocking in at like 120, 140, 170,000 concurrent players for some of these new launches, and then sustaining at a much higher level than that. So it's not just like they're kind of ahead of a lot of games. Like they own the whole genre more or less. Like that is explicitly clear. And even in the generals, like right now, Destiny is I think the number 7 game on all of Steam, and it's off peak hours. But like you're never gonna top like Dota or PUBG or like GTA 5, and yet it is performing very well. So why does this kind of narrative keep persisting that Destiny is a dead game, or people post something about Destiny and people go, oh, people still play that, or like, don't people know there's other games? I can't even tell who's joking and who doesn't when this gets said a lot, but it is the case that there is kind of a weird situation in that there are not that many kind of like true, huge, like ultra huge mainstream content creators that play Destiny regularly, and these are the kind of people we've seen sort of cited lately as sort of looking down in Destiny. Like I remember this Asmongold quote lately where he said the whole like, don't people know there's other games out, when he was talking about Destiny on stream for just a minute. And while Destiny 2 has its own kind of high profile list of creators within its community, we have seen a lot of kind of the higher end of that what's it called? Variety, yes. Not necessarily leaving the game, but you have people like Gathalion and Glad and people like that who have kind of branched out into not having Destiny 2 be their main game anymore. And yet, I think this narrative gets kind of overblown and overlooks the fact that, like, at its core, Destiny is a extremely healthy game, like absurdly so, that at a level that I don't think we really even understand. Bungie only occasionally gives us glimpses into kind of how well Destiny is doing. One of the things they mentioned recently was that 20 million new Guardians were added since they left Activision, so not that long ago. Obviously, a lot of that is in the move to free-to-play and things like Beyond Light, Beyond Game Pass. And yet, 20 million new players in that short amount of time is certainly significant. Destiny also has a bazillion ways that it has monetized itself. The base game is free. All the expansions are still for sale. Seasons cost money. The Eververse microtransaction store is alive and well and has more stuff than it ever has, better stuff than it ever has, and now they're charging for things like transmog too. So while Destiny is not a subscription game, we now have things launching like the $100 Witch Queen Super Pass or whatever, I don't know what it's called, but that includes the Witch Queen, that includes all of the seasons, and that includes the $30 kind of bonus anniversary content pack, which is a dungeon and some other stuff. So it's essentially like you're paying $100 for a year of Destiny. And if you are a dedicated Destiny player, that doesn't seem like that much. I mean, given the amount of content that I and others play in Destiny, it's like sub $10 a month for Destiny if you average it all out. And like obviously, if you skip something like the $30 anniversary pack, it's even less. It's like $6 or $7. I think Destiny is a game that has a lot of core appeal among kind of a broader player base, but it is not a very good game for content creation. And this is why we kind of don't see a lot of high profile content creators going after it, because for a few reasons. Like, content creators like kind of hopping on things that are new and different. And so, if a new popular thing gets, super big all of a sudden, like you'll see like, okay, Lupo's playing Tarkov, or, Glad's playing Valheim or something like that. It's a little hard for a game to feel, fresh when it is 7 years old at this point. And yet, if you're playing it just like as a player and you've kind of gotten used to the seasonal model and the yearly expansions and stuff, it feels like a rewarding game to kind of keep playing consistently. I think in the past year especially, it has very much increased that kind of satisfaction where seasons now feel really substantive. I think they have dramatically upgraded the work that they've put into seasons, both narratively, both with loot. Before, the seasons felt a little bare bones, and it felt like Bungie was kind of just getting spooled up in terms of how they wanted to do seasons going forward. Keep in mind, a lot of the stuff they were doing before this was still kind of under the old Activision rules, where like you must get this size expansion out at this date, like you must release this, and this in this time frame. And now they have a little more room to breathe and a little more time to implement their kind of new philosophies for seasons and expansions. And I expect the Witch Queen to be substantively better and bigger than Beyond Lights or Shadowkeep before it. I don't know about like sheer size of it, compared to something like Forsaken, but I do kind of have higher expectations for it. And I have not seen anything from the player base in a long time that represents kind of like the true, like the most dire days of Destiny, where there's like no content, or the sandbox is in such a terrible state. It's like, in no state to even be played. That happened for a while with PvP, and cheating is a big problem in PvP. Another problem with streamers is they will get hyper targeted by stream snipers and cheaters potentially. So playing something like competitive PvP is a mixed bag for many that are trying to hop in, or like, either veteran players or new players that are trying to hop in for the first time. It's also a game that, for all its successes, is very hard to explain to people how to get into. So like introducing, new high profile content creators has been a bit difficult, like, because you can start up the game and not really have any idea where to start and where to go. And they've changed some things about that, like the timeline and stuff. But if you're a big name content creator, you want to start, you don't want to be running through kind of like base Season of the Hunt story quests or something, or like the Beyond Light campaign. Like, you want to be jumping into like endgame raids, or like Presage, or like, Trials of Osiris at, max power or something like that. And getting there is a process that a lot of people don't want to deal with. But the kind of more generalized player base has been slowly kind of like getting a hang of it. And I think a lot of the new Light Guardians that arrived when Destiny went free to play are still into the game and are now kind of absorbed into the seasonal model. And I would say that the past year, just in terms of also delivering great seasonal content, has produced a lot of meaningful changes in terms of kind of the speed and volume of certain sandbox changes. Like they spent a long time reworking stasis, where now it suddenly feels okay. The hand cannon shotgun meta has been reduced a little bit, shall we say, from its super peaks. They've done a lot of great work doing requests that Bungie, or that players have requested of Bungie for a long time, which is buffing underused subclasses, buffing underused exotics. There are things like anti-cheat. There are things like no 3-peaking. Like, there is just a tidal wave of stuff that they have added to the game, both in terms of actual content, but also in terms of like the story, or not the story, but like the sandbox of the game. And I think, here's Cone Dog Evie, who is still wearing her cone. It's very sad, but hopefully she'll get out of it soon. And I mean, we can see the results. Like, we don't need Bungie to be a public company, like reporting all its income, to understand that Destiny is a success. All you have to do is look at Bungie's expansion plans, which is like tripling the size of their studio and opening up a separate studio in Amsterdam. also continuing to work on Destiny while simultaneously incubating a number of other new games. These are things they would not be able to do if Destiny was not a success. And we know that this isn't like, they're not pivoting away from Destiny. Like, if anything, I think they are doubling or tripling down on Destiny because that is their bread and butter and it is performing so well for them. We have 2 more expansions past the Witch Queen now. We have word that Destiny 2 itself will probably continue past the end of the Light and Dark saga. I think it could go for a couple more expansions until the end of this console generation, and then they might launch Destiny 3 or, whatever. But they do not seem remotely eager to move on from Destiny or this community they've created. I think they don't take that for granted, and just because Destiny is like, quote, old now, I don't think they're just going to shift to whatever new game they've done. I don't think they've handled this perfectly. I think in incubating these new games, they clearly just cleaved off a huge chunk of their PvP team to go work on those, and I don't really think that's the best idea given how active the PvP player base is in Destiny. I think they needed more people to kind of stay behind and develop content for that. Even in this next year, it might be better than last year with a couple new maps and a couple new modes, but it's still not where it needs to be, and they essentially have to rehire like the vast majority of a PvP team to fully flesh that out. And then we won't talk about Gambit just drowning at the bottom of the pool there, but you understand what I'm saying here. Like, this is a very, very successful game, even if we don't see exact revenue streams. Like, the evidence is in both how Bungie is expanding, both physically and with other games, how Destiny 2 is delivering more substantive content than it ever has before, and kind of their commitment to the, we're past the 10-year plan now. Like, we're going beyond the 10-year plan that was, talked about way back when. And so, like, the point is like, even if this is not a game that is adopted by many ultra high profile content creators, like, it is still something that is extremely healthy, and most other game companies would kill to have a player base of the size of this consistency, and that is not changing. And like, we are 7 years in here and we're still getting new season launches that have 140k people simultaneously playing on Steam. Like, that is significant and impressive, especially for a game that is not like, an ultra competitive shooter that it does have a bunch of promotion on Twitch, being one of the highest ranked games there and things like that. So in short, Destiny is a very alive game. It is going to continue to be that for a long time. And I think Destiny is a lot more successful than anyone realizes. And it does not need to be played by, X or Y famous streamer in order to have that validated. Like, the result is in what we can see in the game and how we can see Bungie expanding. And I will continue to fight back against this narrative wherever I see it. And I'm a little defensive about it, given my history with Destiny and how much I enjoy it. But, it's been really nice to see, like, kind of this being delivered in terms of actual numbers, and then in terms of like Witch Queen sales. And it's just, the evidence is kind of everywhere that Destiny is very healthy, very alive, and all these memes are just memes. They're not actually remotely reflective of the current state of the game, which is very healthy. So anyway, that's my little kind of mini rant for today, and I am going to farm a bunch of stuff I missed over the weekends, and then look forward to Reset tomorrow. My video tomorrow will probably be about whatever happens at Reset. I got to talk about like Season of the Lost in general, and yet I missed a bunch of days, and it's really bugged, so we'll see what gets fixed at Reset tomorrow. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.